Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about what my issues were with Halloween Ends and exactly how I would have wrote the perfect Halloween Ends movie in my opinion. Obviously nothing's perfect, but at the end of the day, I felt like I came up with a much better idea in my opinion. And I want to talk about that in this video. Basically what I want to do is I want to talk about my issues with Halloween Ends and why I didn't think it worked very well as a movie. And it's actually a pretty short philosophy around that. And then I want to talk to you about what I would have done in a very short version of the movie and kind of highlight everything I would have done. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so what were my main issues with Halloween Ends? I said it in the first video that I made in this kind of little trilogy of videos I've made, but the main thing I had a problem with is that it felt like the right movie at the wrong time, meaning that they tried to combine two different movie ideas by introducing the Corey Cunningham character, as well as trying to conclude the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers storyline. And this is a problem just because what they were marketing the movie as was that this is going to be the big final conclusion between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and it ended up not being that. Instead, what we did was we got a 4-year time gap between Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. During that time frame, we learned about the Corey Cunningham character. We learned that Michael Myers has been in hiding and is basically a shell of himself, and he's basically pathetic. It seems like he is really weakened from the events of the previous two movies. Some things happen, obviously, where Corey brings him people to kill. He gets rejuvenated a little bit, but still, nevertheless, he's pretty weak in this movie. But 90% of the movie revolved around the Corey Cunningham character and Allison and their relationship, and how Corey starting to kind of embody the essences of evil, so to speak, after he stared at Michael Myers when he found him down in the sewer and whatnot. And like I said in my previous videos, I like the idea around the Corey Cunningham character. I like the idea around this idea for a movie. It just was not what we wanted from Halloween Ends, and that was the biggest problem. We wanted to see Laurie versus Michael, and we got very little of that. I'm gonna jump around a little bit, but the ending of the movie was the best part, in my opinion. The fight between Laurie and Michael was very short-lived. It wasn't a very long fight, but seeing Michael Myers actually killed, like, definitely dead. He was thrown into the garage, or not garage, the dump grinder thing, and that was an intense scene, and the whole town was gathered around. We saw him actually just get completely destroyed, which was good. And then honestly, it was pretty disappointing because we spent this whole movie building up the Corey Cunningham character, and we killed him off too. So while I am glad that there was like some sort of conclusion to the trilogy and the franchise, it just didn't feel right to introduce another killer into this, because the majority of the kills were all done by Corey Cunningham. There was a scene in the middle of the movie, and me and my friends were just laughing our faces off the whole time when Corey decided that he wanted the mask for himself, right? And he just charges into the sewer and just mugs Michael Myers for his mask. It just got that bad, in my opinion, to where they just basically made a joke of Michael Myers until the very end, the last couple of scenes. But the Corey Cunningham character was a dominant character. We go along his story. We see him get bullied. We see him get his first kills. He kills the DJ. He kills various people throughout the thing. And I thought he actually did a pretty good job in his moments when he killed, because like I said, I think Corey was a formidable foe, but it just didn't make much sense for what we were trying to get. So that was my main issues with Halloween Ends, is that it was the right movie at the wrong time. They combined two movies that shouldn't have been ever combined. And at the end of the day, it just was not a good, satisfying conclusion to this trilogy that they were trying to make for Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. And I wish that they would have gone with a different idea, and I actually have one, and I'm going to talk about it right now. All right, so to start off with, the thing I would have done is I would have, like I said in my previous videos, I would have started and made this movie center around Laurie and Michael Myers. I would have made this like the Godzilla versus King Kong, the most recent one, version of the Halloween franchise, because this is a perfect opportunity. You got two colossal giants coming at each other. Yes, you have some stuff going on in the background, but at the end of the day, the clashes between King Kong and Godzilla were so epic that this is what it needed to be, right? And I feel like the movie should have started off like this. I think that what we should have done is we should have had the ending of Halloween Kills air, obviously, and we had Michael standing over Laurie's dead daughter, and then she looks up in the window, sees Michael standing there with the bloody knife, and he's just like, menacing looking. He's just doing what he was doing. And then she should have yelled out, just to give a callback to H2O, yelled out the Michael! And then he just kind of vanishes and goes off into the night. And then what we should have did is the movie should have continued along the same night. And what should have happened is that Laurie should have been hunting Michael after she saw him in the window. She goes inside, she sees her dead daughter, she confirms that she's dead, she gets emotional, but then the next thing she does is she immediately starts pursuing Michael. And at this point, I do like the idea about Michael just because he sustained so much damage during the past two movies. He should be a little hobbled and weakened by this whole ordeal he's gone through the past night. And while Laurie's pursuing him, Michael's kind of hobbling along and he's just barely kind of making it. He's kind of hiding from her. For once, Michael is the one being hunted instead of being the hunter. So he's trying to escape Laurie. She's hunting him. The rest of the town is kind of looking around for him. And now that Laurie is hunting him and he's in pain, I think we should have our first confrontation between them. I think there should be multiple confrontations, but there should be the first one where Laurie has the upper hand. She ambushes Michael, she finds him, she starts shooting him with her little handgun or whatever. And eventually what should happen is Laurie should end up technically winning the fight, but Michael somehow escapes during this time frame. And then what happens is we have a 1 year break between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. And during that time, obviously, Laurie is like trying to find him. He's hiding. He's trying to recover because he's been so badly beaten up from the previous two movies. And this is the time where I feel like just a 1 year gap would have been great, because what we could have done is we could have had Laurie still continuing to try and hunt him. Allison is still trying to deal with the emotions of losing all of her friends, her parents, and now just having to adjust to life with her grandma. And like I said, I know I said I didn't want to introduce the Corey Cunningham character, but this was a good opportunity, in my opinion, to introduce the character, because what could have happened is we could have established that Allison and Corey met during this 1 year break, and they established a connection because they both had past traumas from Allison losing her whole family. And then at this particular time, we didn't quite understand Corey's trauma. So what happens is that they get together, they have a relationship during this time frame, this 1 year break. We don't know much about Corey, and for all intents and purposes, he's just her new boy toy type, boyfriend type thing. Anyway, after the 1 year break, Michael comes out on Halloween night. He's rejuvenated, he's ready to go. He comes out of hiding and he's pissed off. He's just like, look, this is it. I got to go after him. I'm still beat up, kind of, sort of, but at the same time, like, I'm good enough to go. And this is when he goes out into Haddonfield one last time. And potentially what we can do, like I said, is he goes through the town, kind of like Halloween 2018. He starts killing people throughout the town. And then what would happen is that he ends up at the sanitarium. We've never had like a movie end up back at the sanitarium. He can go back to the sanitarium where he was released from, he escaped from multiple times. And he goes through and kills everybody in the sanitarium. And then what happens is that this is when the second fight ensues between Laurie and Michael. And then what happens is that Laurie figures out that Michael is at the sanitarium. And she goes in, everybody's dead, and there's tons of people dead. And then this is when Michael gets the upper hand on Laurie. They both have a really good battle. She's like, ready to go, but at the same time, Michael just overpowers her because she's newly rejuvenated. And then, yeah, that's just kind of how that ends. And then Laurie retreats off and goes and tries to recover and then build up for the next fight. So what would happen during this time frame is that she pairs up with Allison and Corey, and then they end up like trying to figure out what they're going to do to combat Michael, because he's back. He's obviously pissed off. He's back in the game and he's ready to go. And then what we can do after that is that we have a little bit of a lull, but we have the final fight coming up, right, between Michael and Laurie. This is the one that's going to set everything together, right? Now, Corey's not involved with this because he goes off and does something else. And like I said before, we still kind of don't know what his deal is, but we know that he's helping Allison and Laurie. So Allison and Laurie face off against Michael in the same scene. I like the idea of like how he comes to her house, Laurie's house, and then he ends up fighting Laurie, and then Allison and Laurie end up finally getting the upper hand on Michael Myers. They take him down and for all intents and purposes, knock him out. They make him basically unable to move, and then they drag him off to the junkyard where they can actually do the same ending scene. I like that a lot. But during that time, Corey catches up with them, and he's actually helping them dispose of Michael's body. But during this time frame, Michael's still wearing the mask. Corey actually does the same thing where he looks into Michael's eyes and he sees the essence of evil, right? He's just like, you know, same thing. I mean, I thought that was actually not a bad idea, but he does. He sees it. And we kind of leave it up to interpretation. But here's how we end it, though. Is Michael's destroyed. Corey's kind of like shook from the event. He's like not sure what happened. It's not some voodoo magic stuff. It's just that he kind of tried to understand why Michael did what he did. Laurie and Allison are obviously, you know, trying to get over everything. Allison's with Corey now. Laurie gets with the deputy in the end, just like how in the movie. But then what happens is that at the end of this movie, they do a callback to Halloween 4. And this kind of sets up something for the future with Corey, right? And what we do is Corey will get his first kill at the end of the movie. And he'll get the kill, and it'll be just like Halloween 4 when Jamie is standing at the top of the stairs with a knife after getting her first kill. And then Loomis is at the bottom of the stairs like, no, no, and he's trying to kill her and whatnot, and it just sets up this ominous tone for the next movie. I think it should be the same thing. It should be like where Corey gets his first kill, and then Laurie's looking up like, no, 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 you know, and then like, you know, we kind of leave on a cliffhanger, and that kind of sets up the next few movies where we can't figure out whether Michael's involved or Corey's doing his own thing, and then we can kind of go into the anthology thing talking about Corey and whatnot. Now, look, I know this is not a perfect idea for a movie, but in terms of like, you know, still maybe having the Corey Cunningham character in there, introducing him, maybe we get more into his backstory in the next movie. We completely focus the movie on Laurie versus Michael. It's like this Godzilla versus King Kong type thing with multiple callbacks to different movies and kind of, you know, it still has the love story. It still has the town of Haddonfield involved, but it's mainly focused on Laurie and Michael. We get multiple fights. We have multiple draws. We have multiple people, you know, either one of them win. But at the end of the day, Michael dies like he's always supposed to die. So, like I said, not a perfect idea, but I love this. I think it's so much more interesting, and it doesn't have to be that long of a movie. It could be an hour and a half, and it would have been perfectly fine. It didn't have to be whatever it was. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this movie. Do you think that this is a good idea for a true ending to Halloween? Do you have some tweaks you want to do? Do you have some ideas that you have floating around? Or do you like the original Halloween Ends and you want to keep it as is? Let me know down in the comments below. But all right, that's it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.